The time for elemental pioneering was nearly over. Dr. McKinley knew that when he left a successful practice in Detroit and came to Alaska in 1946. He wanted to find out if they needed dentists. As it is with many pioneers, this doctor felt the need of greater self-realization. He believed he had a service to give, and he wanted a greater opportunity to give it. Along with this, he wanted for his family space and freedom from the urgency of city life. At this moment, the doctor can look at his often turbulent career and feel a sense of achievement. He can look at his adopted country with pride, a country that has molded him to its pattern, and yet has allowed him to reshape some of its contours to fit his plan. In molding Dr. McKinley, the dentist and father of 7 children, Alaska has created for herself a skilled and dedicated pilot, farmer, and legislator. As he stands on the butte above his farm and surveys his country, he knows that his decision was right. Alaska forced Dr. McKinley to become an expert pilot. Only in this way could he carry a badly needed service to Alaska's outlying villages begging for dentistry. And here he is in the familiar role of the cross-country dentist, now on his way to the village of Homer. The doctor never fails to call on the friends who help him wherever he goes. When the need is urgent, the doctor's office is portable. When the villagers see the familiar plane, they pass the word quickly, for they know the doctor will take care of any emergencies at the plane before flying on to the next village. The doctor's second son, Larry, assists him on many trips, handing him the instruments that are sterilized and packed for emergencies such as this. This is a part of Dr. McKinley's philosophy. He accustoms his children to responsibility by giving them real jobs to do. In Kodiak, the conditions are less primitive. Here, the doctor works in an office maintained especially to serve the villagers on weekends. Dr. McKinley is always moving full speed ahead without much concern for the weather, which is momentarily damp as he pays a call on his friend Emil Knudsen, proprietor of a curio shop which has been a landmark in Kodiak for many years. On the return from Kodiak, the doctor lands on the beach at Ninilchik, a fishing village on the Kenai Peninsula. Here he decides to have a Sunday morning cup of coffee. But, as usual, his help is needed. An old-timer is in want of denture repairs. A mother brings her son, and the doctor relieves the pain he has been suffering for nearly 2 weeks. One little fellow wants to make certain everything is all right before he sits in the chair. Dr. McKinley is anxious to get home. There's work to do on the farm, plus a family celebration, for his oldest son, Blake, is home between school terms from the University of Alaska. Everyone has a job at the farm. Even the youngest, Stevie, helps clean the heater for the potato cellar to work up an appetite for dinner. Nothing tastes better to the McKinleys than roast beef raised on the farm. Stevie, however, isn't taking any chances on hunger as he robs the tomato bin. There's little that can be counted small about this family, from the number of children to the ideas of the two who guide it. Mrs. McKinley runs her home with only the help of the children, whom she has born and raised. There's a farm job to do after dinner, and Stevie is told he can help. In spite of the big dinner, he is still looking out for his stomach, though a little careless about how to carry a tomato. While the doctor is on a dental trip, the boys get the pickup stuck in the mud down in the cow pasture. So there's nothing to do but crank up the tractor and haul her out. It's time now for Billy and Roger to lend a hand. They are numbers 4 and 5 in the family, and their chief responsibility is taking care of the cows. Stevie is a little disappointed that he isn't given a hand in the operation, so his father allows him to drive the tractor back to the barn. But sad are the results of the ride. Sunday evening finds Larry and Judy practicing a song for the young people's meeting at the Palmer Community Church, while the doctor coaxes a little more heat from their homemade fireplace, and Mother, meanwhile, convinces her brood that it's time for sleep, since the weekend is over and there's school in the morning. Good nights sometimes take a violent turn with Stevie and Karen Lou. According to Dr. McKinley, taking muster is easier at night. The McKinley fireplace is no mere ornament. On a fall and winter evening, it becomes a friend for rare moments of relaxation. Candles also brighten many winter evenings. Monday of any week finds the doctor in his office at 8:30. At the week's end, he moves a mountain of correspondence and business matters out of the way. Back at the farm, Dr. McKinley prepares to answer an emergency call. The plane waits on the little airstrip built and maintained by the doctor and his boys. Since he bought his ship in 1948, Dr. McKinley has flown many thousands of miles. One or two of the boys often go along as assistants. One day, while returning home on a flight with Roger Dean, the plane hit a chuck hole in the airstrip at the farm and turned over. And while hanging from his safety belt upside down, Roger Dean remarked, "If this is flying, Dad, I don't believe I like it." The doctor's Stetson is a sight as familiar as his brightly painted red and yellow ship. This emergency, coming early on a Friday morning, takes the doctor south through the Chugach Mountains to Seward, the port of entry for the Alaska Railroad. Here is located the Seward Sanatorium, where native children and other tubercular patients need dental care. The sanatorium is maintained by the Methodist Church and directed by Dr. Francis Phillips. The children come out to meet their dentist. Two young patients get first attention. They later testify there's nothing to it. Dr. McKinley visits the hospital to locate some medicine he needs. Then begins an all-day session under the skeptical scrutiny of his young patients. Even the younger patients are sometimes reluctant. A consultation is held with Dr. Phillips concerning a tubercular patient. The others calmly wait their turn. The doctor is rewarded by the appreciation of the patients and a peaceful trip in Dr. Phillips' boat at the end of the day. Further reward comes as a surprise the next morning, a 20-pound halibut. With the plane ready and the fish in the back seat, Dr. McKinley heads into a brisk wind toward the famous gold rush port of Valdez. Even after many trips, the doctor still feels a sense of human frailty sitting in a little ship, playing games with the elements which continue to exact their claim on human life in Alaska. At Valdez, the weather is fair and the town quiet, since no ships are discharging cargo at the docks. The doctor's first visit takes him to the Valdez Children's Home. Before leaving Valdez, a call at the hospital includes a gracious invitation to lunch before the flight to Cordova. The weather threatens to obscure the mountains as the doctor points the little plane toward Cordova. The sailing down the coast is low, but not impossible. Arriving safely over Cordova, Dr. McKinley heads for the little airstrip, which appears to be little more than a finger of beach with water on three sides. He knows it doesn't pay to overshoot this field. The doctor seldom fails to stop and admire the fishing boats, which signify the calling of most Cordovans. Among the fishermen, the dentist is always welcome. A variety of patients find their way to Dr. McKinley's office whenever he's in town. The dental needs of Cordova, like other small communities in Alaska, are varied and urgent. Before leaving Cordova, Dr. McKinley visits his fellow pioneer friends, Dr. and Mrs. Coffin. Dr. Coffin is the local physician, and Mrs. Coffin is a trained nurse and laboratory technician. Dr. McKinley lends a hand in the removal of a cast. After leaving the Coffins, Dr. McKinley checks the weather for the trip home, and he isn't happy at the report. A storm is moving in and may cut directly across his path unless he gets off ahead of it. He makes up his mind to beat the storm and loses no time in getting into the air. Already he begins to feel the buffeting of the wind moving ahead of the storm. The beautiful mountains look anything but friendly, towering above the small plain. Below him, glaciers stretch out big, greedy hands. A strong crosswind hits the plain. The storm is right behind it. It is too late now to turn back. Like every pilot, Dr. McKinley knows that a radioed position is indispensable to flight safety. The plane comes into the clear as the fall sun settles over the farm. As he circles the field, he feels this will be his last landing on wheels before the snow comes. His prediction is right, for on the very next weekend, the fields are white and the plane comes in on skis. The doctor's arrival is greeted with a shout from the children that Dad is home. This greeting is doubly welcome throughout the long and hazardous winter as the doctor's work continues. Thus, the direction Dr. McKinley found for dentistry in 1928 in Arkansas is fulfilled in Alaska. His desire for a new challenge, for greater service and a richer life is realized in a country he claims as home.